I was in a shelter in British Columbia, but that's liberal and there's a little bit more compassion there. I went I thought, wow, I've had my share. Cape Breton was nice. They had a men's shelter there. I was in with Canadian war vets. Those guys were nice people. The door locked and it closed. The one here up in Bridgeby, they got to be sued and shut down. See, they had shelter, they had rooms. The Salvation Army was letting these foreign people that bought up hotels all over the place, women rooms. Calling it out of the cold, I make sure you're closed. I had you closed once. I used the Green Party. They made a complaint and human rights violations. Well, round two, I got to sue you and close you down. You're causing mental health problems. Number two, assisted death. My mother needed assisted death because your glycogens and your nitrates in Canada caused her to have Parkinsonian disease, and she couldn't die. I watched her die slow. But you don't give assisted death to homeless people because they're a bunch of crooks. You don't give assisted, and you quit blaming Trudeau. Blame the libertarianism of Canada that screwed this all up, the free market capital racket. There's a young man out here. He's not a criminal. He won't go in those shelters, and they won't go in them because they're not run right. They got narcissists. You know what a narcissist is? She gives no leeway for a person's needs. There was a young man there, and I was trying to help him. He had a service dog because he has got post-traumatic stress. No. She has to be thrown in freaking jail. Thrown in jail. If they're narcissists, they can't work in those organizations. And where's the funds coming from? Brokers. They know the market's crashing, but they're keeping on funding it. And they're using these as tax shelters. I got enough proof. I got proof. They didn't have that. When my wife, I couldn't get any help because a stupid bitch. Of course, stupid bitch. You help a man when he's going through emotional abuse. I needed another place to live. You wouldn't help me. You believe my wife? Well, the court proved that my wife was crazy. I don't hate her, but I sure hate any woman that shuts me down. I don't like Ontario. I'm trying to sue to get out and denounce citizenship. It's only $100. The stupid bitch there the other day, and I'm going to call her a stupid bitch, needs psychiatric help and disrespectful of our country. Yeah, I'm disrespectful to you that won't do anything. You'll elect PCs again. We got NDP, we got Green. But oh no, you got to elect Pierre Paulette, the world's worst tyrant. These are tyrants. Can't you? You're too young to know what a tyrant is. I know a tyrant. You know, the Canadian Thoroughbred and Standardbred Association doesn't like the Conservatives. They're a piece of garbage. But you're going to elect them, you stupid kids. He says, I sleep in a box. Do you think I don't care? But they're not going to help you. They're the problem. They're libertarians. They've gone against Indigenous rights, everything. Pierre Paulette is a piece of poop, and so is Jordan Peterson, and so is Rex Murphy. They're all pocket lined by Exxon in these companies. Now the United States is knowing the state of Florida. They got a lawsuit against those horsemen of the apocalypse because they burned up the state of California with bushfires. ExxonMobil and BP. Now they are a part of the problem of Canada. If we can get down to it, libertarianism of letting the markets flip, a pandemic of craziness. Now, what happened to me? I was living with my brother. I had nowhere to go because I was on social assistance, but I was getting well. I used natural therapy. I had to. It cost me money, but I got well. Why? Because psychiatry doesn't work. I was sitting in Starbucks and I should talked about it. He was a therapist. He says, they're idiots. Assholes, he said. I quit. I don't blame you. But I started studying international life therapy. I'll take it to Australia because I don't like the U.S. and Canadian method. Licensed practitioners, Jordan Peterson's licensed. I wouldn't recommend a woman go to one. He's crazy. So on Paxil, I don't use drugs. We got things that'll work on people with post-traumatic stress. So I studied in the United States. There's a trauma therapy course. I got to finish it. I had to heal myself because I wouldn't go to one of them racketeers. And True Hope helped me. True Hope out in Raymond, Alberta helped me. They got me off all that junk. They said I was bipolar. Maybe I was. I think it was the syntax. It mimics compound PTSD. It's funny, this compound PTSD, the science behind it, doesn't fit the DSM. Every time you look at a group of symptoms, and I tell people, you had a 50 caliber machine gun pointed at you in Grenada. You got PTSD. Oh, it's bipolar. It's the symptomatic symptoms of bipolar, but you haven't got bipolar. Bipolar is something they've come up with that is a chemical imbalance in the brain. Of course it is. You look at the reaction or cause action, what came first. They make, I can look at different, they'll give you a thing to fill out. You'll diagnose yourself bipolar. But I'll pull out another one. It'll diagnose you in the DSM-5 as just basic PTSD. It's very similar. The other thing that might be different, diagnose you as highly sensitive person. Very close. So, it's like the energy sector. You gotta have to keep the fuel coming in and keep this going. Well, that's the way this psychiatry is working now. It diagnose you're both. You're both. You got PTSD, but you're bipolar. You got the symptoms of the bipolarity. Now that girl traumatized me for saying I need a psychiatrist. I wouldn't see one of them. Never again. What was my health like? I've always been slim. I'm down to 205. I was 366 pounds on a walker with drugs going into me, in and in and in. I tried to get a civil litigation against them. They said leave for Australia and denounce citizenship. That was a mediation. That was a lawyer on malpractice. These guys got too much power. But we know that David Abraham Hoffer proved that it was micronutritional imbalances. What's it caused by? Same thing as my mother. I was in DDT, Roundup. See, when I was going to agricultural college, I was questioning things. I'm good at research. I got endorsed by the chairman of the board of NATO Business Development. Oh, yeah. He says, that's good research, what you're doing. Do I do I do statistical analysis? No, I just show a blanket picture of it all. Just there it is. I'm using logistical analysis, plus time and knowing things, and synchronicity, like how Jung would say. You go to college. I went to Edgar College, and things didn't line up. We're learning microbes and soil science. And we're learning to spray Roundup. But the findings now are microbes are killed by these GMO chemicals. We're looking at regenerative agriculture. And we always had crop rotation, but they decided to grow more crops and less farmers. That's the model. to feed the world. What I think we need to do is go back to a microeconomic model of agriculture. Small scale farms, feeding communities around the areas, more rurally spread out across Canada. This country's all boxed into these markets. Now, I'm going to tell you what I've seen people doing now. They're opening up these tiny house communities. And I said, why are you doing this? I own a really nice house. And she says, I'm a homeowner. And the way they're building up the economy, that won't be worth anything. See, that's an intelligent woman. So I really don't think I'd like to hear jargon talk. Because I think Daffy Duck and Donald Duck are about the same freaking thing. He's so boring. And he's so anti everything I'm for. I've always felt women have rights, equality. I don't like his rhetoric. So I started reading an article that says it shouldn't be going that way. Psychology has no business in environmentalism. It has no business. It's being used against. It's been called environmental racism. We're environmentalists. Oh boy, I've been indoctrinated into environmentalism. Because I've been in nature and seen the harm of what we're doing to this planet. So maybe I'm dreaming. I don't think so. I've been on whale research vessels. I've seen a lot of things going down. Partly more, it's gone. But partly more, it's said, right, planet will be green. But the defective species might not be alive. Well, it seems like we're going that way. We're at a war. You're fighting with the truckers and everything, and you're at war. See, Biden, you've decided to do a noble thing, defend the Ukraine. But you've taken on Goliath. You've taken on Russia, and they're starting to win. And oh boy, this is the first part. The COVID was just a little bit of a child's play to stop this globalized free market capitalism. Now, is it Canada I hate? No, Canada's a good country. It was until this started coming in. So she says you're disloyal to Canada. I'm disloyal to the system. You've got it. You're going to vote PC. The problem with our country. Pierre Poilievre is a monster. What's he want to do? Legalize firearms? I used to think that way too. I like guns. Get a couple of rounds fired at you by a criminal. The catch and release system that Pierre's talking about. Our police officers getting shot all the time. Do you think that's right? But then you're listening to hip-hop crap music about Officer Down as a joke. It's woke. Police officers down is a tragedy. Police dog shot in Toronto, that's a tragedy. You know, it's woke. The crime rates are increasing because of housing discrepancies. Now, who's at fault for this? Partly you, your generation. You think you're entitled to not work. We had to hire foreign growers and crops. You wouldn't take farm jobs. No. Your entitlements. So maybe you need assisted death or a psychiatrist, but you're entitled. You go to university. Well, my friend went to university, quit because he knew it was getting into a cupcake school. It wasn't going good. It was all about getting a career. Listen, I go out and I sit in a coffee shop. These girls are studying for their scholastics. It's so difficult. They're just forcing this stuff on them to be what? The truckers are always attacking me, so that's all right. I went off social media. They're full out there. Those bums. Well, they're just bums. You know, Trudeau's the only problem. He wasn't like his father. Just call in the military and blow those friggin' trucks up. Howitzers, guys. Just blow them up. they were a right-wing extremist group of Trumpster fascists that have come into Canada. So what you got now, what you're voting for, because you think he'll help you, Pierre Paul, it's a bunch of Trumpsters that couldn't make their way in the United States. Now, Biden, of course, he's brought them to trial, the state of California, hippies. Monsanto said they're a bunch of hippies. The state of California, a bunch of tree-hugging hippies. These are crooks. They've been destroying our land. They're poisoning our water, causing mental health problems because of the glycogens are screwing up the microbials in the soil. So levels of are causing depression. I can show you graphs, but they don't want you to see that. I remember Ron Fate on here once. He says, "Share like hell, you'll be taken down." I watched it, and it was about this years ago. They shut them down on YouTube. Oh yeah, I've seen some things that are really they shut down, and it's good because it's lies against China. They didn't do that. That wasn't the. She said it was the attacking China for. She came out. Anybody can say anything, but they took it down because it was a drug company in the United States that addicted people to this fentanyl opiate. So you got a guy there named Joe Shapiro, a right-wing swing that is going out there and attacking people in San Francisco on drugs. Who created that? These criminals that are free market capitalists. Okay. Am I against capitalism in that form? Well, it's crashing. Read Eisenberg's study on this. Women's rights will be violated. It says on it, women's rights have been violated. You got Jordan Peterson going and attacking women. You got a bunch of He-Man woman haters on YouTube here. Because you can't get dates, maybe you could re-eradicate the way you treat women. They're not all Karens, they're women. And I'll tell you something I've seen, and it's causing women to go. When you say you're a nurturer and you can't lead, it's ridiculous. A leader is the wise mare in a herd. It's not the stallion. So it's a different form of leadership. Women can lead better probably than men. They're not so toxic. So you really disempower yourself. A lot of women do now. You've been buying into the handmaid's tale. Atwood would agree with me on this. I'm sure Marguerite Atwood would agree. I like Grandma Atwood. Sorry. You're a sweet woman. That was a good book. If you ever see me talking about you. Handmaid's Tale. A lot of men find out false. I don't. Gilead. Yeah, I think we are in it. And if we go into looking at what's happening, and we know it's pretty well the end of the oil empire, hopefully, but no, you're going to defend it. That's why I'm against Paul Up, and they have no movement to get off fossil fuels. So if they have no movement to get off fossil fuels, they're paid by the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. All this stuff is rubbish. If you look at the Fraser Institute, rubbish. Elizabeth May, of course, she's not the deciding body of Canada, but she had to do research herself. He said, Jordan Peterson said that there's only one economy, the economy of fossil fuels. I don't think so. It's a very diversified economy, but no, it's just one way. Yeah, they got a good track record. Fraser Institute, right-wing think tank. They're partisan. The right-wing think tank paid pocket lined and no transparency. First thing they said was tobacco's all right for you. Yeah, they defended the tobacco industry. Did you know that? If you look up things online, you'll see the dog having a dump on the lawn. Excuse me? What's it mean? Another study by the Fraser Institute. So they're not credible. They're pocket line. If you look at all these newspapers and everything, there's maybe two that might be truthful, but you'd call them Red Wing Rag or Trudeau's Rag. I'd call the Toronto Star truthful. CBC that he calls woke, maybe they're truthful. But journalism? There's 28 lie papers, 12 lie papers. They're all pocket lined by oil companies. So you want the oil. What's all tethered? It's all Ponzi scheme. To the banking system, broken banking system. Another book you should read is Margaret Atwood's Payback. I want you to read these books. I'm not going against young people. I'm telling you where you are. I'm on your side. I'm not against you. Do you think I like anybody camping in a box? No. But I don't think you'd be electing those guys because they're pocket lined. Progressives are not conservatives. They're Preston Manning's Reform Party. That sounds really good. But they're not the same thing. Ron Mulroney was a progressive conservative. He had environmental values. Yeah, Mulroney, yeah. Even Elizabeth May talked about her. She was on the conservative advisory for when she got into Canada, advising on environmental changes. We haven't cured anything with Indigenous women's rights. We got a lot of work to do, but they're just going to block everything. And a scoundrel is a person that attacks. I watch all that stuff that he's attacking Prime Minister Trudeau. And the mediator's in there, and he says, that's it. Yeah, you won't let the Prime Minister speak. And that's badgering, and that's what Jordan Peterson does too. He badgers women and everything and makes it look good. He's a climate denier. Can you keep on denying that the sky isn't falling? You know, the state of California, they're suing these companies because Biden got in there. And can I tell you something, young people, younger Gen Zs? It was the Gen Z revolution that elected and got Trump out. Now, I was talking on there, and I had a young man come in. He's a Black American Marine. When this garbage is going down, somebody called him the N-word. He doesn't do that. He's an American soldier. But, you know, I'll tell you, give him assisted death like your bimbos here to our Canadian military. That's like giving a death sentence when you call a man that served his country. He's crying. You know, I don't like hearing a soldier cry because he's going to off himself. And it's some idiot that goes out and uses a foul racial term on a vet. Come on, America, you make it great. Remember what that guy wore a hat? Make America great. Get Ponzi hedge under it and start getting your $31 trillion. Dad, a lot of Americans have left. They're living in Costa Rica. They know it's over, the great dream, because you let Ponzi scheme and hedge hunters in. Prime rate lending, you inflated the market. Well, Canada's been doing the same thing, but it's at 1.1 trillion, probably more, because we just kept on printing money. So, you know, I was listening to Warren Buffett, which is Omaha. I like him. And he said, what do you think of crypto? He says, it's turds. Vehicles, yeah. Intelligent investment vehicles. Well, he's in jail. That little beanie-eyed kid there in the Bahamas. For crypto. amount of electricity. I don't believe in crypto. I believe now we have to go into if you love your country, don't vote conservative, vote something that'll make micromanagement. Get off the Keynesian system, grassroots economy, and start building like you did the pioneer days. You can make America great and you can make Canada great. Yeah, you're starting all over. Or are you? You can build up pretty fast. You get into small communities, put tiny houses in. You don't have to live in these. Get off the grid. Formulate cooperatives of food production, not cricket making. What are they? Another consortium wanting to sell crickets to stupid people. He says, hold on, Greg, hold on. I hear it's a protein. My dog might eat it. Well, Jiminy Cricket. Dogs eat venison. There's a lot of game in Canada. I was out west and I said, hey, what do you do with the wildlife out here? You shoot it? Yeah, do you bring it back? Why would we do that? They're good dog food because it's canine food. Wow, and at least you can talk to an Albertan. You can talk to these hunters. Make gather it up and you're feeding your dogs. Dog does need, like the dog food industry is ridiculous, the prices. You hunters, could you formulate groups? Because canine needs meat. They're carnivore. A clear shot, I'm not against that. I'm just against blanket hunting with machine guns. First Nations, they hunt. They had a sacredness to everything. That's the way micromanagement should be. That's the way we should live. Not this Keynesian free market capitalism. We should live in a sort of appreciation for good products and what we have and use them until we have enough money for more. That's how the pioneers built Canada and the United States. Remember that? They didn't have debt, mortgage, banking systems. So I was listening to a man out in BC who worked for CP Rail. So he read a lot of books, and he read about the American Civil War. And we got talking about it. It was a very interesting discussion. I think it was a banker's war. What the hell is this? This is a banker's war. It's crashing. You've overextended. You got into debt. Usury. This is Heisenberg's principles of the end of growth. You've been living on borrowed time and borrowed money. And it's starting to come back to the bank of the Republican banks on receivership. In the United States, we got to face the inevitable. We're doomed. So what are we going to hire? Grassroots economy. Maybe you get a nice community. Food growing. You're in a box, right? You want to live in the cities? They're no good for you. High density growth. Maybe you could do a bit of farm work. Have your own place. There's a lot of these tiny house communities working good. There's always a solution when you're down on your luck. I don't think it's good, but they're the problem, my friend. You're on the streets. She says, go to a psych ward. Maybe you should go. She don't know anything. Attacking me. I said I'm denouncing citizenship because of your inaction of electing the same damn thing. Einstein said that. Do the same damn thing over and over again, get the same results as a sign of insanity. Progressive conservatives is the same damn thing. You got NDP, you got Green Party, you got the Bloc. Form a unilateral government, but don't form a one-way government. Power in politics. Be careful of him. Unilateral governments pull through when banks close down. You might not like all the components, but that's the way Iceland pulled through. Unilateral government. And when they did pull through, women had their rights back and they had more rights. And engineers are getting paid equal pay. Iceland had a communist capitalist system. But when the banks closed down, they all worked together. And that's the only way you can do it, not this war stuff. And that's what Pierre's not working with Trudeau. Imagine if they worked together or just shook hands. But it's just an attack. I think Brian Mulroney was a good prime minister. And he was conservative, but he was fiscal. What's fiscal? It's economics. Do you know anything about economics? I don't think so. They're just getting partisan into an extremist party. Those truckers, there's enough facts about them. They're a bunch of incels of Trump's plan. So, he's probably gone to jail. I knew he was no good. Oh yeah, the young guys around here. I like Trump. Really? I knew he was a disaster as soon as he got elected. He was a disaster. I've lived through Nixon's regime. He's worse. Nixon shot a lot of people dead. But he was, they got him out. The Watergate tapes and stuff, they found them. So, is it the Republican Party or the people behind them? It's a name. I call myself Do, Re, Mi, Fa, So. It's just a name. But it's who's behind it and who's passing the bucks on either side of the coin. So, attack me and tell me I need a psychiatrist. They did that with Santa. He said he was Santa. It was an old Santa Claus movie. And he had to go see a shrink. You're not Santa. Maybe not. But I get smart ass that calls me Santa. Because I got a white beard. Ho, ho, ho. There's some smart idiots on social media. So I decided, like he said, how much can you tolerate, Greg? He's in Kentucky, thoroughbred boy. How much can I tolerate? I can't tolerate too much of you stupid kids. You could be smart and learn something from an older man that's gone through a lot of things. Because you'll go through it too. And that's being humble. And I'm not saying every young man doesn't want to learn from me. The ones online are the trolls and the monsters attacking older people. I have a right to denounce Canadian citizenship. I've had enough. How much can you take, Greg? I got an opportunity to become an Australian citizen. What I like about Australia, you have to vote. There's no apathy. So they take it pretty serious and they talk about it. I might not agree with their talk, but we'll come to a discussion. And I might hear their point of view. And that's how democracy works. This, get out of here. I don't talk politics. It used to be vote strategically. Wow. Now it's, I don't talk politics. F off. Screw Trudeau. He's neoliberal. I'm not going to keep on going on. But better than ball up. Oh, hell yeah. So, environmental racism, it's called. You know, you're not the only one that's ever sent anybody to a psychiatrist for environmental reasons. They're saying First Nations women for that. It's called gaslighting. Thank you for the gaslight, kid. I need a psychiatrist. But I won't let myself be gaslight because I know the law and I don't ever want to go to one. I'll just renounce citizenship. This is my right. And if you think it's disrespect, maybe your country's disrespected me. Maybe your country was doing a lot of things they shouldn't. The problem with ego and saying it's about Canada, it's up to you to make Canada Canada. But you failed. So I have a choice to fire you and give you an F. Teacher doesn't hate you, but you failed. Okay, but you're gonna put me to a shrink for what? Denouncing Canadian citizenship, disrespect. Maybe you're disrespectful for the way you vote and don't look at the issues. Maybe you're disrespectful and apathetic to expect Pierre Paulette to change things in Canada. If he could show me something, I'd like to see it. But all I see is an attacker. You know, I like to see somebody make solutions. I don't see any solutions there. Just attack and hogwash. As far as the interim leader, she was lying. Or she doesn't know. She said soldiers need more money. Let's talk about this. I'm drinking with a guy out in the bar there, out in the country, 32-year vet. Yeah, he's got big payout. He's drinking the process. What's the process? Putting men in body bags. It takes a lot of processing for a sergeant. What was his job? Griffin door gunner. That wasn't a hard thing. Ethiopia took 15 years. But you do fill them up with drugs, kids. Fill them up with drugs, or you give them treatment programs. It's going to work. It takes a bit of time. Works. They need to feel safe. That's PTSD. You can't make anybody feel safe offering them friggin' assisted death. Apathetic morons. A Canadian military. I'll call you a moron, whoever would come up with that when a man wants help. You know, we know there's something wrong with the healthcare system. It's psychiatry. They can't heal anybody. Because I got healed. It was a micronutritional supplement. All the lies they tell you about the energy companies and all this stuff about Monsanto's, they're safe. They're pocket lined. Now, you could say I'm hateful. I don't think so. I think I'm speaking my truth, and I think you should listen. Canada is not a good country. Not under Pierre Paulette. It's gone down since Stephen Harper. Did you know a lot of things he did? Well, I'm taking the train back from Edmonton. I said, I couldn't figure this out. The train stopped. Yeah, they're on strike. Now, they were on strike, the CP Rail, because they don't want to work that many hours. Not asking more money, they're asking less time because I'll burn them up. So he took out the mediation, Stephen Harper. So ask yourself if you want to vote progressive conservative again. And really ask them if they've changed. That's like letting Benedict Arnold in again. I think there's like a few options there. And what's he saying? He wants full power. That's dangerous as hell. That's why I'm renouncing citizenship. I don't want to be in a country with a dictator. Full majority government's a dangerous thing. That's power and corruption. That trucker strike was a mess, and there's no opinion about it. But most of the newspapers you read now, they're opinionated. If they're right wing, they're opinionated. Because what's right wing mean? Support the oil empire. It's not about supporting right wing ideology. Support the oil empire. So it could be right or left. So confusing, isn't it? What if I just tell you, maybe you should back off and vote in that jerk again? I wouldn't vote him. He's going to ruin Canada. I know he is, and am I disloyal to Canada? I'll just save my butt to get out. Because you chose. Tell me to see a psychiatrist. I don't need to. I got a good police record. I work at the police. I got enough proof that psychiatrist was killing people. Because you give them money to push drugs. And that's all they do. Bitter? For years I was bitter. But I know what I want. I'll just sue whoever I have to get out of Canada. And I will renounce. I'm going to start that right away. I'm just going to get some paperwork together. I've been taken down so bad I had no assets. You know, man needs assets to keep him afloat when they put me into debt. And, well, I'm not in receivership because I'm a senior. That's another reason I want out. I don't want to pay any more than I have. I'm done. It's over. My life in Canada wants a new life. I want to become an Australian citizenship. Because they're changing. They're coming, they're not perfect. No place is. The economy's good there. But you'll hear people say, I got out of Canada, Australia. It depends on their reason. The young man up here, he's an Australian. He got out because he was abandoned by his family. Well, I was abandoned by this family. Do you understand me? You have a law against abandonment. Alberta's got a law against it, but not Ontario. And you can work on that. There's a lot of things you got to work on. Housing is a right, but it's not a right to make it a commodity. Houses are separate from commodities because that's a human right to have a house and a home. And I agree with you. You don't pay him for a cardboard box. You know, there's a guy living in the park here. I'm trying to help him. He's homeless. It hurts me to see homeless people. And he's on drugs. Why? Because he's homeless. Hopelessness. When you're homeless, you're on the bum. I don't really appreciate homelessness. It's a human right, but it's got violated with libertarian values. So who's at fault here? Trudeau really didn't have much power over the housing market. Did you know that? These are left up to the provinces. if I could talk about British Columbia, it's liberal, but it's sort of a it's opened up and got away from shelters, and it's getting rooms for people to stay in. Now, it's still not really fixing the problem, but I'll tell you, getting this apartment they weren't helping me find anything. They don't know what to do. Shelters are terrible. They're terrible, and you're traumatized in them. Because I'm a highly sensitive man, I don't like being around a bunch of drug addicts. If I got a mental illness, look at my addiction problem. That's about it. Coffee. I don't like drugs. And I don't think that's a mental illness. I think psychiatry is the form they've been pushing in Canada. I've had a lot of people coming to me about the psychiatry. Their girlfriends get on that stuff. And they love them, but they can't. When there's solutions for psychiatry, like micronutritional supplementation, instead of pushing drugs, there's many therapies that work. Bipolarity, I think we have to re-examine the eye of what this bipolarity is. It's an emotional imbalance, an incongruent, out of balance system. Just like the economy. If we start looking at imbalances and bringing things into order, we might make it. Cognitive behavioralism, there's all sorts of things. But we're caught into a pharmaceutical racket that hasn't been curing. Well, it's changing. DSM-5 came. Now, that now diagnoses PTSD. But you have no idea what PTSD is. Talk to people. I talk to soldiers and I know what PTSD is. I know what it is in women. But if you got no compassion to you might as well give up. You need assisted death here. Lacking compassion. You certainly do. You can't shut down your heart. So here's the kicker. There's ways to learn emotional balance. But what you were telling me was dreadful. It doesn't worry me. You go and take your meds. Maybe you're a medication girl. I'm not against mental health. I'm against the methodology. A better healthcare system. Not just throwing drugs at people. And offering assisted death and diagnosing. I've got off that model and went into Jungian, that is not diagnosis, but synchronicities and really examining a person's life path. Forensic psychology. That's a different thing. Still psychology. But it isn't DSM's eyes. Of course, the DSM's adapted. 1971, homosexuality was mental illness. So, I could take a book. It's like the paint by number death book. It's not a good way to diagnose people. Like, I'm in a holistic practice. I'm not supposed to diagnose. But being an empath, I get things, and it's the past in people, and I can't tell them. I just tell them maybe you should work on this. But I pick it up when I'm doing healing. Or they come out and tell me they've been raped or something. And it just comes out in sessions. Now I keep that to myself. As long as they're not suicidal. But I'll tell you something, it's very tricky to find a good therapist. I want to find one that isn't going to just drug them up. A good therapist that's going to help them through it. Like, emotional trauma from rape is bad. A lot of women have it. A lot of men do too. I've met young men that are being sexually abused as children. So we just take a DSM manual and blanket statement that it's not a good healthcare system. We got to get off of that. More of a forensic look at health. Of course, things are going out of sync when your emotions are out. But when I say I can't live in Canada, I don't want to live under right-wing rule, because I am an environmental citizen of the world, not just Canada. I care about the world, not just Canada. So that's why I'm denouncing citizenship, because the people up and they have no want of getting off fossil fuels. Trudeau's plan was 2030, but they keep on lying. They're climate deniers. That's why I'm denouncing citizenship. So, diagnose me. The kangaroo court of life, that was a stupid thing to say. Because she's a loyalist to a bunch of banana Republicans